What's up, guys? Welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Erdell, and in today's video we're going to be going over a fun, aggressive, and surprisingly dangerous response to the move e4, in which we now play e5, and against the move knight f3 the most popular options are knight c6, defending the pawn, the Philidor defense, and the Petrov defense with knight f6. But in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over the crazy off-key move d5, the Elephant Gambit, absolutely crazy response to the move e4 and knight f3. And to be honest, guys, when I first set out to make this video, I was expecting the Elephant Gambit to not be very good. I thought it was going to be one of those cheap gambits where you rely on your opponent making a dumb mistake and handing you the game. But guys, the Elephant Gambit is surprisingly good, and most white players are not prepared for it. The first thing that this does is take white out of its comfort zone. I myself, playing with the white pieces, I'm nothing like Magnus Carlsen or Gary Kasparov or anything, but I'm around 2150. And to be completely honest, there's no move I hate to see more than the move d5 with the Elephant Gambit. I mean, I could take on d5, but e4 is played and something just doesn't feel right. I could take on e5, but then all of a sudden bishop d6 ideas come in, and I'm just not really familiar with this position. Needless to say, guys, most players, even expert master level players, are not prepared for the Elephant Gambit. Now in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys all the main variations so that you can be prepared for anything that comes your way. And the first two moves that are definitely the most popular, and I think really the only two moves that give white an advantage here, are e takes d5 and knight takes e5. So let's first take a look at the move e takes d5. Guys, against the move e takes d5, we're always going to push with e4, attacking the knight on f3. And now white, again, really has two main options. There's only two moves here for white that give white a better game. And the first one is knight e5, against which we're simply going to take on d5, centralizing the queen and attacking that knight on e5. And following the move d4, we're going to use the old imposant rule, take on d3. And after knight takes d3, now play knight c6 against the move knight c3, attacking the queen on d5. We're not going to play a passive move like queen d8 or queen d7. We're going to play queen a5 in Scandinavian style type fashion. And against the move bishop e2, play bishop f5. And against the move castling, I really like castling queenside in this variation. I mean, I personally actually like black's position more. Black has good developmental chess, an active queen on a5, an active knight on c6, and an active bishop and rook that are both putting pressure on the knight on d3. Needless to say, this is a very uncomfortable position for white to play, and that's exactly what we want coming out of this opening. So one option is knight e5, in which we're simply going to take the pawn on d5. However, the most popular option is actually queen e2, pinning the pawn on e4 to the king on e8. So obviously we can't take the knight now, but we can defend the pawn with knight f6. And following the move knight c3, play bishop e7, reintroducing the idea of e takes f3, taking the knight. So now after knight takes e4, we're not going to take the knight and trade down, but play knight takes d5. And really, no matter what white does here, we're going to castle kingside. And now white is in an interesting predicament. White would love to castle kingside, but the problem is that there's a bishop in the way. So at the master and grandmaster level, the most popular option is queen d1. And by doing this, white is freeing up the square on e2. However, now black can play f5, attacking the knight on e4. And after knight g3, play c5, followed by knight c6. And after castling, play g5. Now this is from an actual game played by the FIDE master Steven Bucher, playing with the black pieces as he was going against none other than the former world champion Boris Spassky. Here the FIDE master made an upset against the former world champion, beating Boris Spassky with the Elephant Gambit, and we'll go over that game in one of our next videos. So guys, that covers e takes d5, in which we play e4, attacking the knight on f3. What about the move knight takes e5? Well, against knight takes e5, we're not going to take the pawn on e4, but simply play bishop d6, attacking the knight on e5. And then, after d4, now we can take on e4. And now white has some interesting possibilities. The main line is the move knight c4, attacking the bishop on d6. And now we're just going to play knight f6, castle kingside. And if bishop g5 ever comes into the game, we're simply going to play h6 and then bring our bishop back to e7, defending the knight and preparing a knight d5 idea. And following castling kingside, we can now play knight d5. Really, the idea here is that if bishop takes e7, we could play queen takes e7, and now we have f5, f4, and f3 ideas. And if knight to e3 is ever played, we can play knight f4, active knight, and attacking the bishop on e2. I really like black's game here. So guys, in this position, knight c4 is literally the main line at the grandmaster level against the Elephant Gambit, and I still like black's game. What if white plays a move like knight c3? Now, knight c3 is not the most popular option, but I actually recommend this move for white. I think that white gives a slight advantage out of this variation. Here, black can play bishop takes e5, and after d takes e5, we're now going to snatch that queen off the board, play the move bishop f5, defending the pawn. And now white has an interesting idea with knight b5, and it seems as if white has debunked the Elephant Gambit, attacking the pawn on c7. But now we can just play knight a6, and after the move bishop e3, play knight e7, followed by knight d5. And guys, if you plug this into a computer program, it will give white a slight advantage. But if this is the best variation that white has against the Elephant Gambit, I think that proves that this is far from a cheap or bad gambit. And lastly, let's go over a move like bishop c4, guys. I mean, bishop c4 is a very logical option. At least it seems like that looking at the position. Here the knight and the bishop on c4, both attacking that weak pawn on f7. But here black is completely okay. In fact, I would argue that black might even be better. We're going to play bishop takes e5, and after d takes e5, take on d1. This is a key idea in the Elephant Gambit. And after king takes d1, play knight c6, attacking the pawn on e5. And white might be tempted to play a move like bishop d5, looking to attack the knight and attack the pawn on e4. But against the move bishop d5, we're not going to take on e5, but play bishop g4 with check, attacking the king. And after king e1, castle queenside. Now guys, notice that if bishop takes e4, we have a game over with rook d1. So white's best option would be to play knight c3, defending the bishop on e4. But now we can play knight takes e5, and after bishop takes e4, play knight f6. We're attacking the bishop on e4. And guys, just look at the activity of black's pieces. A very active bishop on g4, an active knight pair, an active rook on d8, and an active rook on h8 that's going to come to e8 and putting pressure on the king. On top of that, guys, the king on e1 has already moved, so white cannot castle for the rest of this game. I really like black's position here, and it is extremely uncomfortable for white to go on from this position. So that covers the main two options with e takes d5 and knight takes c5, and honestly, against both, I still think that black has a good game. But let's go over some of the side variations and see what happens. What about the move knight c3? I mean, I could see a lot of white players playing this. White's not comfortable taking the pawn on e5 or the pawn on d5. Maybe they haven't studied the variation that much. I mean, I'm rated around 2150, and I still have never really created a good response against the Elephant Gambit. So it's not out of the ordinary for white to play a normal quote-unquote move like knight c3. But now we're not going to take on e4, but push with d4. And after the move knight e2, I really like this f6 idea. Look at the pawn chain here from g7 all the way to d4. I mean, black has a very nice space advantage in the center of the board, and no player playing with the white pieces, especially playing e4, would ever want a position like this. I mean, after the move knight g3, we can now play bishop e6, and now black is looking to play knight c6, play queen d7, castle queenside, start just hurling down the pawns on the king side of the board. But what if white wants to stop this with bishop b5 check? I actually think that bishop b5 check is probably white's best option here, but we're still completely okay. We're going to play c6, attacking the bishop on b5, and after bishop a4, play knight c6. And oftentimes in this position, white will play bishop b3. Looking at this position, the bishop on a4 really isn't doing much, and the bishop on e6 is very strong, controlling the light squares for black. So bishop b3 is a very logical option, but it's okay. We can just take the bishop, then play the move d3, another key idea in many of the variations in the Elephant Gambit. And now white can easily get into trouble very quickly. I mean, looking at the move c takes c3, we now take with the queen, and notice how we're attacking e2 and f1, so now the king on e1 can't castle. And if white plays a move like knight e2 trying to castle, we could play bishop c5, followed by castling queenside. We have a very active queen on d3, a huge space advantage, an active bishop on c5 attacking the f2 pawn, and a knight on a6 that's soon going to come to b4 and c2. Black has a completely better game here. So guys, one of the moves is knight c3. Another option that white could play, and this will be the last move that we go over, is c3. Oftentimes, white plays c3 looking to fight for the center of the board and also prepare queen a4. But here, guys, we're not going to take on e4, but simply play knight c6. And if queen a4 is played, it seems as if black is in some serious trouble. I mean, white's putting pressure on the d5 pawn, The knight on c6 is pinned. Right now, e5 can be taken. But guys, we're simply going to play bishop d7. And now, obviously, the knight can't take on e5, and obviously the queen can't take on c6. But white can play e takes d5, and it appears as if black has just lost a pawn at move 5. Has the Elephant Gambit been debunked? Well, guys, we're actually doing this on purpose. Now we play knight d4, attacking the queen on a4, and this knight takes away both b3 and c2 from the queen. So now the queen really has no option but to go all the way back to d1, in which we take the knight off the board. And after queen takes f3, we're now going to play bishop d6, followed by f5, and after a move like d3, continue to play natural developmental chess with knight f6, castle kingside. And now after castling kingside, we can play queen e8 with ideas of queen g6 attacking the bishop. We also have future ideas of e4 and f4. The bishop pair is going to become alive, and we're going to bring this a rook to e8. We have great attacking chess here, and it's honestly a lot of fun. If you'd like to see the elephant trap, a totally different opening but cool chess trick, click the video to the left. If you'd like to explore more chess openings in general, click the playlist to the right. Leave a comment to let me know what other videos you'd like to see on this channel, and as always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.